Hello and welcome to my very first 40K video. If you're watching this, thank you for being here. Today, we're going to take a look at every playable army. The Warhammer 40,000 universe is massive. There are many playable armies, and choosing one can be overwhelming. I'll try to cover what you need to know about each army in under a minute. In the future, I'll make more in-depth videos covering each army individually. Now, let's take a look at what each army has to offer. Space Marines, Ultramarines. Ultramarines are the ultimate all-rounder army, acting like a flexible chess master that has a tool for every situation. They're great for beginners because they offer a good balance between shooting and melee, while still giving you the flexibility to adapt your strategy during the game. They are highly forgiving because they can run away from dangerous fights and still shoot back at the enemy. They also give you access to the largest selection of unique, powerful commander heroes in the game. Because they are good at everything, they do not excel at one specific thing like pure speed or heavy armor. They rely heavily on keeping their commander characters alive to give the rest of the troops instructions. You should play the Ultramarines if you want a reliable, easy-to-learn army that lets you try out every single aspect of the game without getting locked into just one strategy. They are perfect for players who love being a tactical general, adapting on the fly, and leading a massive cast of iconic, heroic commanders. Space Marines, Black Templars. Black Templars are aggressive, space knights who rush across the board to crush enemies in brutal hand-to-hand combat. They refuse to use psychic magic, relying instead on holy vows that give their entire army powerful combat bonuses and shields. They are incredibly tough to kill because their holy faith grants them protection against magic and mortal wounds. They can field massive squads of aggressive swordsmen that easily overwhelm and trap enemies in melee combat. They have almost zero psychic abilities and weaker long-range shooting, making them helpless if they cannot reach the enemy. They can be easily baited or slowed down by fast opponents who refuse to fight them up close. You should play the Black Templars if you love the idea of fanatical, sword-wielding knights who charge fearlessly into the thick of battle. They are perfect for players who want a straightforward, highly aggressive melee style and prefer relying on cold steel and holy shields rather than magic or long-range guns. Space Marines, Blood Angels. Blood Angels are hyper-fast shock troops who use rocket-propelled jump packs to fly across the battlefield and crash into enemy lines. They suffer from a genetic flaw called the Red Thirst, which sends them into a frenzy and drastically increases their damage when they charge into melee combat. They possess unmatched speed and explosive melee power, allowing them to cross the board instantly and shred the toughest opponents. They also feature specialized, elite units like the Death Company, which hit incredibly hard and refuse to die. They are a glass cannon army that relies heavily on getting the first strike, leaving them highly vulnerable if the enemy attacks them first. Their focus on expensive jump pack infantry means they have fewer models on the board to hold objectives. You should play the Blood Angels if you want a lightning-fast, high-adrenaline army that wins games through spectacular, flying melee charges. They are perfect for players who love aggressive, high-risk, high-reward strategies and want to paint iconic red armor mixed with elegant angel imagery. Space Marines, Space Wolves. Space Wolves are fierce, space Viking hunters who love to brawl and fight alongside massive wolves. Instead of following strict military rules, they rely on powerful hero characters and giant wolf cavalry to hunt down and counterattack enemies in savage close combat. They are exceptional at countercharging, allowing them to hit enemies incredibly hard even when they are attacked first. They can field unique, powerful units like giant thunderwolves and specialized melee infantry that other Space Marine armies cannot use. Their aggressive, pack-hunting nature makes them highly dependent on their hero characters, becoming much weaker if those leaders are eliminated. They also lack heavy defensive shooting lines, making them vulnerable while crossing open battlefields. You should play the Space Wolves if you love the idea of sci-fi Vikings, massive wolves, and heroic sagas. They are perfect for players who want a wild, aggressive melee army that relies on powerful monster-riding heroes rather than strict military formations. Space Marines, White Scars. White Scars are hyper-fast nomadic warriors who use bikes and speedy transports to strike like lightning and escape before the enemy can hit back. They use a hit-and-run style that lets them sprint across the board, charge into combat, and immediately retreat to do it all over again. They have unmatched battlefield mobility, allowing them to advance and charge into melee in the exact same turn. Their high speed makes them excellent at capturing distant objectives and trapping slow enemy armies out of position. Their reliance on fast bikes and light vehicles means they lack heavy, long-range defense lines to hold their ground. They can suffer massive casualties if they get bogged down in long, drawn-out combats where they lose their speed bonus. You should play the White Scars if you love the idea of high-speed sci-fi cavalry, roaring bike engines, and lightning-fast ambush tactics. They are perfect for players who want to outmaneuver their opponent on every turn and prefer a fast, tactical hit-and-run style over standing still and shooting. Space Marines, Dark Angels. Dark Angels are a secretive, highly flexible army that effectively combines three distinct fighting forces into one. They utilize heavy infantry lines, an elite brotherhood of bone-white Terminator armor that refuses to budge, and a hyper-fast Raven-wing squadron of black combat bikes. They are incredibly stubborn and hard to move, featuring unique rules that make their infantry lines unbreakable when holding ground. They also possess incredible list-building variety, allowing you to field an all-Terminator army, an all-bike army, or a flexible mix of both. Managing three different styles of units at the same time requires high tactical skill and can easily confuse beginners. If you split your army's focus too much, your individual units can easily get isolated and destroyed one by one. You should play the Dark Angels if you want a flexible, knightly army that lets you experience both heavy, unmovable armor and lightning-fast bike combat under a single faction. They are perfect for players who love dark, secretive lore and want the freedom to completely change how their army plays from week to week. Space Marines, Deathwatch. The Deathwatch are elite alien hunters who operate as a highly adaptable special forces unit. They deploy customized kill teams, combining different types of Space Marines in a single squad, and use specialized ammunition to adapt to their enemies and take on almost any faction they encounter. They offer incredible tactical flexibility, allowing you to change special rules and ammunition types to take advantage of your enemy's weaknesses. Their unique mixed squads can combine heavy armor, jump packs, and powerful close-range weapons into a single versatile and deadly team. They are an ultra-elite army with a very low model count, meaning every loss can have a significant impact on your force. Their wide range of options can also be overwhelming for beginners, as choosing the right equipment and special rules during a battle can leave beginners unsure what to choose. You should play the Deathwatch if you love the idea of an elite, sci-fi special forces squad where every single soldier is a seasoned veteran with a unique backstory. They are perfect for players who enjoy heavily customizing or kit-bashing their models, and who want a deeply tactical, toolbox playstyle that lets them outsmart their opponent with the perfect counter-strategy. Space Marines, Imperial Fists. Imperial Fists are methodical siege masters who specialize in heavy, disciplined ranged firepower. Instead of running forward or using tricks, they march to the center of the board, build an unmovable wall of heavy infantry, and blast the enemy away with waves of bolter fire and artillery. They are incredible at holding ground in defense because their weapons naturally ignore the defensive cover that enemies hide behind. Their heavy infantry and vehicles pack a massive punch at long range, systematically tearing apart enemy armor from across the map. They are a slow and rigid army that lacks mobility, making it hard for them to react if the enemy avoids them or sneaks past their firing lines. They suffer heavily if forced to abandon their defensive positions to chase down fast opponents. You should play the Imperial Fists if you love the idea of an unyielding, heavily armored wall of soldiers who systematically dismantle enemy fortresses with overwhelming firepower. They are perfect for players who prefer a steady, defensive shooting style and want to paint vibrant yellow armor. Space Marines, Iron Hands. Iron Hands are cold, cybernetic machine masters who specialize in heavy, vehicular warfare. Instead of relying on flesh and blood, they march alongside highly durable tanks and walking dreadnought combat robots, using advanced technology to repair their war machines right in the middle of battle. They feature legendary vehicle durability, making their tanks and robots incredibly difficult for opponents to destroy. Their heavy armor forces shoot with supreme accuracy, allowing them to easily blast enemy targets off the board from long range. They are highly dependent on mechanical synergy and suffer greatly if their key vehicles or fixing engineers, tech marines, are blown up early. Because their points are invested in expensive machinery, they have fewer foot soldiers to stand on and hold objectives. You should play the Iron Hands if you love big sci-fi tanks, massive armored robots, and cyborg lore. They are perfect for beginners who want a straightforward, highly durable shooting army that lets them feel the mechanical wall of heavy armor instead of massive squads of regular foot soldiers. Space Marines, Raven Guard. Raven Guard are stealthy guerrilla fighters who strike from the shadows using infiltration tricks, camouflage, and jump pack ambushes. Instead of a loud frontal assault, they sneak their soldiers close to the enemy before the match even begins, choosing the perfect moment to assassinate key enemy leaders. They possess incredible pre-game mobility and stealth rules that make them much harder for enemies to shoot at long range. They are exceptional at hunting down and eliminating high-value target characters, easily cutting the head off the enemy army. They are physically fragile compared to other Space Marines if they get caught out in the open without cover. They struggle in long, drawn-out slugfests, meaning they can easily lose the match if their initial ambush fails to wipe out the enemy's heaviest threats. You should play the Raven Guard if you love sneaky ninja tactics, black armor, and pulling off surprise ambushes. They are perfect for players who prefer a clever, tactical style of play focused on outsmarting their opponent's deployment rather than relying on heavy tanks or massive frontline brawls. Space Marines, Salamanders. Salamanders are slow, heavily armored blacksmiths who specialize in close-range firefights. They march directly into the heat of battle to roast their opponents using short-range flamethrowers and melt-your-armor heat guns. They dominate close combat shooting because their unique rules make their fire and melt weapons incredibly reliable and deadly. They also possess fantastic defensive abilities, allowing their infantry squads to shrug off heavy damage that would normally wipe out other Marines. They have very poor long-range firepower, meaning they can easily be pinned down across the board. They struggle heavily against highly mobile armies that can run away and shoot them from a safe distance. You should play the Salamanders if you love the idea of a caring but terrifyingly tough brotherhood of warriors who wield mastercrafted flamethrowers and heavy shields. They are perfect for beginners who want a simple, durable, close-range shooting style and want to paint striking green armor with dragon or flame imagery. Astra Militarum. The Astra Militarum is a massive, army-style force that relies on sheer numbers of normal human soldiers, massive tanks, and heavy artillery. Instead of super soldiers, you command waves of regular troops who hold the line while officers shout tactical orders to instantly boost their shooting and speed. They have some of the most destructive long-range firepower in the entire game, capable of blowing up enemy targets from across the board. Because their soldiers are so cheap to buy with your army points, you can flood the table with models and easily crowd out objectives. Individual human soldiers are highly fragile and die very quickly under enemy fire, often fleeing if their squads take too many casualties. The army relies completely on its officer characters, meaning your strategies will fall apart if the enemy assassinates your leaders. You should play the Astra Militarum if you love the aesthetic of a gritty, realistic military force with massive columns of tanks and endless lines of brave foot soldiers. They are perfect for players who want to win through overwhelming numbers and spectacular, long-range explosive firepower rather than relying on a few elite heroes. Tyranids. Tyranids are a terrifying alien swarm that acts like a single, massive hive mind to consume everything on the battlefield. You use a mixture of endless hordes of tiny, insect-like monsters and giant, towering bio-beasts that tear enemies apart in close range and melee combat. They give you incredible flexibility because you can flood the entire board with dozens of cheap models or smash through lines with giant monsters. They also use a unique psychic ability that can panic and mentally disrupt the entire enemy army at a crucial moment. Their smaller swarm bugs are exceptionally weak and will panic and run away if they get too far from your larger leader monsters. They generally lack heavy, long-range guns, meaning they have to run directly into danger to deal real damage. You should play the Tyranids if you love sci-fi monsters, alien swarms, and creatures like the xenomorphs from Alien or the bugs from Starship Troopers. They are perfect for players who want to overwhelm their opponent with sheer numbers, control the entire map, and watch giant biological monsters smash through enemy lines. Orks. Orks are a hyper-aggressive, chaotic alien horde that wins games by running directly forward into brutal hand-to-hand combat. They love the absolute chaos of battle and use a massive, once-per-game shout called the Wah to suddenly give their entire army explosive speed and melee damage. They deal terrifying amounts of damage in close combat and can easily overwhelm the entire board with sheer numbers of tough, green-skinned warriors. Their aggressive speed makes it very easy to lock enemies in melee combat immediately and kick them off objectives. Their shooting accuracy is notoriously terrible, meaning they are almost completely useless at fighting from a distance. They are also prone to panic and running away if their large squads get thinned out by guns before they can reach the enemy. You should play the Orks if you want a fun, lighthearted, and highly aggressive army that loves to smash things in close combat. They are perfect for players who do not mind missing their shots as long as they get to roll a massive bucket of dice and throw a green wall of screaming monsters at their opponent. Necrons. Necrons are a slow, relentless army of immortal robot warriors that rise from the dead to conquer the battlefield. Their signature mechanic is reanimation protocols, a rule that automatically triggers every turn to resurrect your destroyed models and repair damaged units mid-game. They possess legendary durability because your soldiers will constantly stand back up after being shot or slashed down. They also carry high-tech energy weapons that can easily disintegrate the heaviest enemy armor from a medium distance. Their movement speed is exceptionally slow, meaning they can easily be outmaneuvered or avoided by faster armies. They depend heavily on leader units to boost their resurrection abilities, becoming much easier to defeat if those leaders are targeted and killed. You should play the Necrons if you love the idea of an unyielding, ancient robotic army like the Terminator that refuses to stay dead. They are perfect for beginners who want a highly forgiving, durable force that marches straight up the board without needing complex tactical tricks. Iron Warriors. Iron Warriors are cold, calculating siege masters who destroy enemy fortresses with crushing long-range firepower. They use heavy artillery tanks, mechanical demon engines, and armored infantry to create a methodical firing line that systematically blasts opponents off the board. They completely ignore the defensive cover that enemies hide behind and deal massive bonus damage against enemy vehicles and buildings. Their own tanks and armored war machines are incredibly tough and highly resistant to incoming heavy weapon fire. They are slow-moving and struggle significantly if forced to fight on wide-open ground without protective terrain. Their reliance on stationary firing lines makes them vulnerable to hyper-fast melee armies that can rush across the board and trap them in close combat. You should play the Iron Warriors if you love the idea of heavy artillery, industrial war machines, and a cold, ruthless approach to battlefield tactics. They are perfect for players who prefer a steady, defensive shooting style and want to field a highly durable army focused on crushing enemy vehicles and defensive positions from afar. Tau Empire. The Tau Empire is a high-tech alien faction that relies 100% on ranged shooting and completely avoids hand-to-hand combat. They use flying battle suits and laser-firing infantry lines, alongside dedicated spotter squads that illuminate targets to guide the heavy weapons with flawless accuracy. They have some of the most destructive and highly mobile shooting in the entire game, capable of wiping out enemy squads from across the board. Their futuristic battle suits can fly, move after shooting, and easily slide away from incoming danger. They are completely helpless in melee combat and will disintegrate instantly if an aggressive enemy manages to charge into them. They lose a massive amount of their shooting accuracy if the enemy manages to eliminate their guiding spotter units first. You should play the Tau Empire if you love futuristic sci-fi tech, giant anime-style mechs, and dominating the game entirely through superior firepower. They are perfect for players who want to win by outpositioning and outshooting their opponent while playing a pure ranged game. Adeptus Custodes. The Adeptus Custodes are an ultra-elite army of golden demigods who fight as individual, unstoppable champions. They rely on an extremely low model count where you only control a small handful of models, but every single soldier has the strength, armor, and health of a minor boss character. They possess unmatched individual durability and devastating melee power that effortlessly shreds entire enemy squads. Each soldier holds objectives with absolute authority, counting as multiple models when securing ground. Losing even a single model is a massive blow to your overall army strength and damage output. Because your numbers are so tiny, you can easily be outmaneuvered and outscored by fast horde armies that spread across the board. You should play them if you want to command an army of elite, golden-armored legendary heroes where quality completely triumphs over quantity. They are perfect for beginners who want a highly resilient, hard-hitting army that is very easy to collect, paint, and manage on the table due to the low model count. Death Guard. The Death Guard are a slow, relentlessly tough army of plague-mutated warriors that march forward to rot the board. They emit a toxic aura that automatically weakens the armor and toughness of nearby enemies, making targets highly fragile just by standing near them. They possess legendary durability that easily shrugs off massive amounts of heavy damage. Their spreading plagues make nearby enemy units incredibly easy to destroy, shifting the math of the game in your favor. Their movement speed is painfully slow, leaving them easily outmaneuvered on the battlefield. They struggle immensely against fast, long-range armies that simply refuse to let them get close. You should play the Death Guard if you love the idea of an unstoppable, zombie-like army that slowly but surely crushes everything in its path. They are perfect for beginners who want a highly forgiving, incredibly durable force that excels at close-range grinding matches and features detailed spooky armor designs. Aeldari. The Aeldari are a hyper-fast, glass-cannon alien army that uses elite, hyper-specialized troops to strike and retreat. They utilize a unique, fate dice mechanic that lets you manipulate luck, allowing you to guarantee that your most critical dice rolls succeed exactly when you need them to. They possess unmatched battlefield speed and lethal, highly mobile firepower that can easily dance around opponents. Their fate mechanic completely removes randomness from vital tactical moments, making your key attacks or armor saves guaranteed successes. Their models are extremely fragile and will die rapidly under any sustained enemy gunfire. They are highly unforgiving to play, meaning a single positioning mistake or bad movement choice can cause your entire squad to get wiped out. You should play the Aeldari if you love high-speed space elves, sleek futuristic vehicles, and pulling off clever tactical tricks. They are perfect for players who want a highly mobile, rewarding playstyle focused on outmaneuvering and outsmarting the opponent rather than relying on raw brute force or heavy armor. World Eaters. The World Eaters are a hyper-aggressive, blood-fueled gladiatorial army that charges headfirst into close combat. They use a unique faction mechanic where you roll special dice at the start of every turn to trigger powerful, army-wide combat buffs like extra speed, durability, or melee damage. They deliver unmatched melee damage that effortlessly obliterates the toughest enemy units upon charging. Their specialized infantry gain massive speed bonuses, ensuring they can sprint across the battlefield and lock opponents in combat. They possess virtually zero ranged shooting capability, making them entirely dependent on reaching melee combat to win. They suffer devastating casualties from defensive firing lines while crossing open ground before they can close the distance. You should play the World Eaters if you want a straightforward, high-adrenaline melee army that loves to charge forward and smash things. They are perfect for players who love aggressive strategies, gladiatorial red and gold armor, and want to win games by physically overwhelming opponents in brutal hand-to-hand combat. Thousand Suns. The Thousand Suns are a psychic wizard army of powerful sorcerers backed by ghostly robot infantry. They generate magical resources every single turn to cast rule-breaking spells that bypass normal game mechanics, letting them manipulate the battlefield with ease. They deal massive psychic damage and wield armor-melting guns that effortlessly shred elite enemy infantry. Their spells can easily turn off enemy armor defenses, inflict automatic damage, or teleport units instantly across the board. They have a low model count and lose their magical capabilities as their expensive sorcerer leaders are killed. Their highly complex strategy collapses easily if their psychic synergy is disrupted or if they run out of spellcasters. You should play the Thousand Suns if you love the idea of ancient Egyptian-styled wizards, magical sorcery, and outsmarting your opponent with reality-bending spells. They are perfect for players who enjoy a deeply tactical, rule-bending playstyle and want to dominate the game through psychic power and specialized firepower. Sisters of Battle. The Sisters of Battle are a holy infantry army utilizing religious zeal and a unique miracle dice mechanic. You generate these special dice whenever your own models die or perform heroic acts, allowing you to substitute them later to guarantee perfect unrolled results for vital attacks or saves. Their miracle mechanic completely removes randomness from critical moments, ensuring vital actions never fail. They pack devastating close-range flame and melta firepower that actually grows more accurate and lethal as their squads take casualties. Their soldiers are physically fragile and rely entirely on short weapon ranges to inflict real damage. They struggle heavily against long-range artillery armies that can wipe them out before they can cross the board. You should play the Sisters of Battle if you love the aesthetic of Gothic, armored warrior nuns, holy cathedrals, and burning fire. They are perfect for players who want a highly rewarding tactical army that turns the loss of your own troops into a resource to win the game. Imperial Knights. They play as a high-impact, aggressive army that relies on towering mechanical walkers to bully the mid-board, using massive stat profiles and tactical command buffs to directly run over opponents. Their extreme durability and devastating single-target firepower allow them to easily vaporize enemy armor and survive massive amounts of return fire. Their ultra-low model count makes it difficult to control multiple spread-out objectives, and their massive size leaves them highly vulnerable to heavy anti-tank weapons and terrain blocking. This army is perfect for hobbyists who want to paint massive, towering centerpiece models and players who prefer a straightforward, high-impact gameplay loop centered on raw mechanical dominance. Emperor's Children. The Emperor's Children function as a hypermobile, glass cannon finesse army focused on aggressive mid to close range combat. They utilize the Thrill Seeker's rule to effortlessly advance, fall back, shoot, and charge, ensuring complete fluid control over the pace of battle. They boast exceptional movement speed across all infantry squads and wield lethal, high-precision melee attacks that slice through elite enemy targets. Additionally, their versatile detachment rules allow for massive tactical freedom, from swift transport alpha strikes to early board control via stealthy infiltrators. Their infantry-centric forces lack high-tier armor saves or broad defensive buffs, causing them to die incredibly quickly if caught out of position. They also struggle significantly with long-range heavy firepower, forcing them to rely on risky, close-quarters engagements to handle opposing tanks. This army is highly rewarding for experienced tacticians who enjoy micro-intensive, high-risk movement strategies where perfect positioning secures victory. It is equally great for hobbyists eager to collect and paint a visually striking, beautifully grotesque chaos army centered around the dark hedonism of Slaanesh. Grey Knights. Grey Knights operate as a hypermobile, elite strike force that utilizes psychic teleportation to constantly vanish and reappear anywhere on the battlefield. They rely on surgical precision to bypass enemy lines, striking critical targets and securing objectives exactly when needed. They possess unmatched board mobility through army-wide teleportation rules, allowing them to redeploy units every single turn. Additionally, every model carries devastating psychic melee weapons and anti-infantry storm bolters, making them exceptionally lethal against elite forces and demons alike. Their incredibly high points cost results in a very low model count, meaning every single casualty severely weakens the army's overall effectiveness. They also lack high strength, long-range anti-tank weaponry, forcing them to rely on close-quarters combat to bring down massive vehicles. This army is perfect for competitive, tactically minded players who enjoy outmaneuvering opponents through complex movement and positioning tricks. It is also ideal for hobbyists who want to paint a prestigious, uniform army of silver-armored psychic paladins without managing dozens of models. Chaos Knights. They operate as a terrifying, aggressive army of massive mechanical walkers that use psychological warfare to break the enemy's spirit. They project a massive aura of dread across the battlefield, forcing opposing units into debilitating battle shock tests that strip away their objective control and combat effectiveness. Chaos Knights combine extreme individual durability and crushing firepower with unique psychic-like warp favors that mutate and buff their walkers as the game progresses. Furthermore, their ability to easily trigger battle shock allows them to effortlessly steal objectives and shut down enemy stratagems without needing to wipe out entire squads. Just like their loyalist counterparts, their exceptionally low model count makes it difficult to hold down multiple spread-out areas of the map simultaneously. They also rely heavily on specific terrain setups to hide their massive frames, leaving them highly vulnerable to coordinated, long-range anti-tank fire on open boards. This army is tailor-made for players who love an aggressive, villainous playstyle centered around debuffing opponents and controlling the board through sheer terror. It is also a dream come true for hobbyists who want to build and customize towering, spiked war machines covered in grotesque mutations, chains, and dark trophies. Drukhari. Drukhari operate as a lightning-fast, glass cannon raider force that relies on open-topped skimmers to launch devastating hit-and-run assaults. They utilize a unique power from Pain Mechanic, growing exponentially more lethal and faster as they slaughter enemy units throughout the match. They possess unmatched burst speed and incredibly high melee and anti-tank damage output, allowing them to instantly delete priority targets. Their army is also highly efficient at staging out of vision, using cheap transport ships to safely deliver lethal glass cannon infantry exactly where they will do the most damage. Their units have paper-thin armor defenses, meaning even basic enemy infantry fire can easily wipe out entire squads if they are caught out in the open. They heavily punish tactical mistakes, as a single failed charge or miscalculated movement can lead to the rapid collapse of the entire army. This faction is ideal for cutthroat high-skill players who enjoy a high-risk, high-reward playstyle centered on perfect positioning and precise coordination. It is also perfect for hobbyists who love a dark spikes and blades aesthetic and want to paint sleek aerodynamic raider ships alongside sinister alien gladiators. Leagues of Votann. Leagues of Votann operate as a methodical, heavily armored mid-range shooting army that relies on armored transports to deliver slow infantry into optimal firing lanes. They utilize the Eye of the Ancestors mechanic to assign judgment tokens to enemy units, allowing Votann forces to hit and wound targets with devastating automated precision. They possess incredible board-wide durability with high toughness stats, excellent armor saves, and highly reliable weapon profiles that punch through heavy armor with ease. Their army mechanic heavily punishes opponents for killing Votann models, turning the late game into a hyper-accurate, high-damage firing squad. Their base movement speed is exceptionally slow, making it difficult to react to fast-moving armies or quickly claim distant battlefield objectives. Furthermore, their weapon ranges are noticeably shorter than other shooting factions, forcing them to walk into dangerous countercharge ranges to unleash their full firepower. This army is ideal for players who want a steady, unforgiving playstyle centered around tactical positioning, heavy industrial armor, and overwhelming mid-range firepower. It is also a perfect fit for hobbyists who love a rugged high-tech space dwarf aesthetic featuring clean armor panels, heavy exploration vehicles, and advanced exosuits. Adeptus Mechanicus. Adeptus Mechanicus operates as a synergistic, shooting-focused army that utilizes army-wide doctrinas to easily alternate between defensive zoning and forward advancement. They rely on layers of overlapping buffs from tech priest commanders to maximize the battlefield efficiency of their cybernetic cohorts. They excel at board-wide area denial and long-range firepower, using specialized weaponry that can efficiently shred both hordes and heavy armor. Their flexible army rules allow them to adapt on the fly, granting widespread armor penetration bonuses or crucial defensive cover saves. Their intricate web of commander-dependent buffs creates a steep learning curve and leaves them vulnerable if their fragile tech priest leaders are killed. Additionally, most of their battle line units lack high native toughness, making them highly susceptible to being overwhelmed in close-quarters melee. This army is great for players who enjoy highly tactical, math-driven planning and complex resource management gameplay loops. It is also an absolute dream for dedicated hobbyists who love painting intricately detailed cybernetic models and striking retrofuturistic war machines. Genestealer Cults. Genestealer Cults operate as a highly strategic, subterranean ambush army that utilizes respawning cult ambush tokens to endlessly flood the board from unexpected angles. They rely on deep striking units extremely close to enemy lines, pulling off high-damage surprise assaults before vanishing back into the shadows. They possess unmatched tactical flexibility, allowing players to redeploy forces mid-game and return destroyed squads to the battlefield to drain enemy resources. Their specialized demolition charges and close combat weapons can efficiently vaporize heavy targets far above their own point's weight. Their units are incredibly fragile and lack heavy armor, making them susceptible to being completely wiped out if caught exposed or screened out of position. They also have a punishingly steep learning curve, as a single poorly placed ambush token can ruin an entire battle plan. This army is tailor-made for master tacticians who enjoy complex, high-skill movement mechanics and outsmarting opponents through misdirection and sudden traps. It is also perfect for hobbyists who love converting unique models and painting a gritty, industrial rebellion force of alien mutant insurgents. Chaos Demons. Chaos Demons operate as a terror-inducing board control army that uses the shadow of chaos mechanic to corrupt battlefield zones. They leverage hyper-aggressive psychic warp rifts to deep-strike massive monsters and endless hordes just 6 inches away from terrified enemy lines. They bypass traditional armor entirely by utilizing unmodifiable and vulnerable saves, making them highly resilient against heavy anti-tank weaponry. Their capability to regenerate wounds, resurrect slain models, and execute easy short-distance charges gives them staggering momentum. Because they have no traditional armor saves, they are highly susceptible to being chipped to death by high volumes of weak low-penetration enemy small arms fire. They also possess virtually zero reliable long-range shooting, completely forcing them to cross open ground and enter risky melee combat to deal real damage. This army is perfect for players who want to manipulate the literal fabric of the board space and dominate the match using psychological battle shock strategies. It is equally incredible for multi-game hobbyists, as these grotesque entities can be actively fielded across Warhammer 40K, Age of Sigmar, and Kill Team. Imperial Agents. Imperial Agents function as a highly modular, objective-focused utility force composed of localized secret police, specialized alien hunters, and deadly assassins. They rely on combining small, inexpensive infantry squads with specialized elite strike teams to contest objectives and aggressively score secondary mission points. They offer unparalleled list-building customization by pulling unique toolkits like Rogue Traders, Deathwatch Veterans, and Grey Knights Terminators into a single combined roster. Additionally, they excel at cheap board control, deploying inexpensive infantry with infiltrator rules to flood early game positions. They fundamentally lack cohesive, high-impact heavy armor or reliable army-wide long-range anti-tank weaponry, rendering them structurally weak against opposing vehicle lists. Their rule design can also heavily penalize them in smaller game formats due to rigid structural costs and detachment pricing mechanics. This army is tailor-made for tactical narrative players who love the secretive, lore-rich underbelly of the Imperium like the Inquisition and Rogue Traders. It is also the ultimate secondary project for existing Imperium players, as almost every model can be readily allied into larger Space Marine, Astra Militarum, or Sisters of Battle armies. Thanks so much for watching my very first Warhammer 40K video. Please let me know in the comments what you think. If you enjoyed it, there's plenty more to come. I'll be diving deeper into the lore, factions, battles, characters, and the grim darkness of the far future, so stay tuned, and until next time.